Hi everybody, and welcome to the Digital Script Supervising Scriptation Workshop for Local 161. I am Roe Moore. I'm very excited to take you guys through how to use Scriptation as a script supervisor. I also have Jonathan Levit and Tim Wrobel who are going to be coming on after I've explained how to use the program and show how they use the Scriptation program in their workflows. So just a couple things. This was recorded on September 12th, 2020. So some of the information and the processes may have changed if you're watching this very later on after maybe an app update or anything like that. I will try to get updates to Local 161, so I appreciate your patience on that and understanding. Also, Tim, Jonathan, and I are not spokesmen on behalf of Scriptation. We are script supervisors just like you, and we just wanted to share the knowledge and information. There's no other aspect to this Scriptation workshop, so we just wanted to share that information with you. So without any further ado, let's go ahead and get started. What is Scriptation and who owns it? Let's take a look. The inventor of Scriptation is a script coordinator. His name is Steve. And he invented this about, I want to say 4 or 5 years ago. And he started working with an app developer because he wanted a method that was better for tracking changes in the writer's room. So he could go back and forth and seeing all the paper that was going wasted for one table read and making it a digital way that across the industry, we could all be paperless. So that's the guy, Steve Vitio. And here are some basics to know about Scriptation. So the types of productions. This one is a one-size-fits-all, any type of production, as long as you have the script formatted in a PDF. It does not accept Final Draft or Celtex files. It does have to be a PDF only. That's because the engine that runs Scriptation, it is a PDF expert type format that's inside the system. It is available for the iPad, your PC, or a Macintosh, so it's flexible in that you can have it on multiple devices. It's pretty user-friendly, in my opinion, if we were to go from pen and paper to Script-E, since that's a lot of people find it challenging to do Script-E. I would say it's most native to that pen-paper feel. Here's where you guys kind of want to know as far as the iPad, the Mac, and the PC, they have different levels of payment. The iPad, you can get a free limited version. There are some pro tools that we as script supervisors will need to upgrade to that pro level, and Tim and I and Jonathan will be sure to point out those features as we go along. There is a free 2-week trial with the iPad app, so if you download it, you probably have already, hopefully. In that 2-week trial, it's free. The Mac has a free limited version. I think there is an industry pro version membership that's coming up for the Mac as well. The PC is in $19.99 free, and they have a free week trial as well. However, on the PC version, from what I understand from Steve, it doesn't have the same pro version tools. So ultimately, if you're trying to figure out what device to use this on, I would highly recommend using either an iPad or a Mac. It is still pretty friendly for the PC as well, but obviously still a lot of the industry is leaning towards Apple products. Now the tasks that this can do, you can still do lining of the script, you can still notate dialogue changes, you can insert images. So if you'll see us create layers of scripts in the program itself, so you can have multiple copies, and in one of those layers you can have your continuity photos for each scene, so it's an easy way for you to grab that kind of information. And then you can bookmark pages to find certain sides, like if you're shooting scene 5, 25, 72 today, you can bookmark those pages and easily jump to those. You can export just the annotated pages, so you're not sending the full file every night. And then you can merge different versions of the script, and I'll have Tim and Jonathan kind of show more of that information. Just so you guys know, too, they do offer a cloud system backup for this program, but it's going to be through your own Dropbox, Google Drive, or iCloud. So they don't have anything on their end where they're backing up your information. And then you don't need Wi-Fi unless you're sending the files through emails. So it is recommended you have a hotspot or Wi-Fi when it's the end of the day and you have to send in your notes or to receive like a new script. That's when you'll need it. But the program essentially lives on its own, and it's on your iPad or on the program, and it doesn't need Wi-Fi to operates essentially. So the basics, here's the step-by-step guide. So when you first open Scriptation, if you don't have any scripts open, this is the screen that's going to greet you. So you have the home tab and everything else is pretty grayed out. The biggest thing I'm going to talk about first is the settings key. So that's on the lower right, left-hand side of the iPad screen. If you're on a Mac, it's going to be up in that file bar. So let's go into the settings and see what's there. This is all of everything you'll see. The first thing I'm going to talk about is that page mode. So this is where you can select the view to either be a single page, or you can have it where it's 2 pages side by side. And in this sample, you can see one side looks like my facing page, and then the other side is my script page. So that way, with this 2-page view, I can easily either write in my facing page numbers, I can type it in, write my notes, line the script, it's all side by side right there. So that's what I love about Scriptation. You can also choose 2 modes to scroll. So you can either scroll up and down, or you can choose it to scroll side by side. The next biggest thing is the way that it can appear. So you can choose the default, which is the white, as if it was a regular printed script. They do have a yellow viewing, so that yellows the page if you have, if the brightness is too much. It also allows that difference in the black text if you're in the sun. And then they also come with a dark mode. So this is similar if you're used to being on Twitter or some social media sites. This is where everything that is usually white turns black and everything that's black turns white. This is better for me at night. That's when I tend to go to this view. We'll go out of the settings and back to that main screen. At the top, you'll notice this little down arrow with an A to Z. This is how you're going to be able to sort your folders, and I'll get into that in a minute. If you have multiple folders, you can sort them from A to Z, Z to A, the newest first or the oldest first. So if you're trying to search and find what project you're on, if you're on multiple shoots, you can find them pretty easily. This only sorts just that main screen folder section. So this isn't going to go through all of the folders that you have created in every single project folder. It's just going to be that front folder. They have a search bar here at the top, so you can type in whatever project you're looking at that you're trying to find. In case, like me, you have 17,000 folders because you have 17,000 projects. You can type it easy and find it there. Underneath that is the cloud services. So this is where if you're doing any backups or if you want to import something from these cloud services, you can do that. Again, this is a paid pro side of Scriptation. So you would just click, it'll help you sync it, and then you can have access to it and import the script, and then it'll back it up on that same thing. Something that's neat with Scriptation, it's not really, it's just a side note. They have something called Showcase. This is where they'll find the Academy Award winning scripts or showcase type scripts, and they'll just put it in here so you can read these at your leisure. I tend to use them as practice. So if I'm trying to learn something new that the app is doing, or if I'm trying to figure out how to do a layer on something, I'll play with these scripts rather than trying to find something. They do, when you initially download the script, there is a folder called sample scripts that's already loaded in the app. So you can also play with those scripts as well. And then underneath the showcase is what's called On My iPad. So this is where all the show folders that you create are going to be listed here. So in this case, I have like my Animal Kingdom, I have BLM Nickelodeon, Buddy versus Duff, Cheez-Its commercial, and Disney Plus promo. So I label them by what the project is. You can choose to label them however you would like. This is just the external folder though. So think of it when you're on your computer, how we have the My Documents. You would click on My Documents and then that would send you there. So this is like your My Documents. How do you create a folder? The way to create a folder in Scriptation is back at that home screen up at the top. You're going to hit those little 3 dots there. It's going to bring open this little section here. Select allows you to select any existing folder at the moment, and that will allow you to delete it, move it, different options like that. But in this case, we're creating a new folder, so we're going to tap New Folder. It's going to pop up this little dialog box and ask you to type in a name for the folder. So in this case, we're going to import Outmatched. That's my next project. So I'm going to type that in and hit save. Now, if this folder already exists with that name, it will pop up an error. It will not let you do duplicates. So that's a nice thing to, if you're like, I'm sure I did this, but you're not finding it and you tried searching for it, it'll let you know. But you will want to name it something that's not identical to another folder. And then once you hit save, it will put it right in the under my iPad. So that's how you do that. If you want to create more folders inside of the folder, so this is, we went inside the My Documents folder, we're now inside the Outmatched folder. We can repeat the same process by tapping those three dots and creating a new folder. This is how you can organize your episodes, or if you want to organize the different drafts, so you have your blue draft, white draft, or even in the multicam space, we'll have the table read script, we'll have the rehearsal script, we'll have the producers run through all of that. So you can do different folders like that if you would like. So that's how you can kind of create that. Another folder that you may want to include too, especially since we're all going digital, is you can make a paperwork folder. So that's where I may put like my deal memo, any kind of shot listing, call sheets, diagrams, anything that I get, that's where I would put that in there. So it might be a good idea to label a files folder in there. Can you create subfolders? Yes, so essentially that's what this screen here is with the Outmatched. You're inside the Outmatched because before we got there, we were outside of it. So once you tap on the actual folder itself, it'll open up and then be blank, and then that's where you hit new folder, and then you're creating subfolders, and you can keep going if you want to make more folders inside of folders inside of folders. It's just like the My Documents on your computers. You can instantly keep creating as many as you want. Can you change the name of a folder after you've already created it? So say I want to change FP30. You would click on the little three dots next to FP30. So I'll click on that, and then you can click on rename, and that'll allow us to type in and change the folder name. Boop. And then it's renamed, and now it's renamed. So the big thing is just to remember to use those three little dots next to that folder name to rename that folder. Importing the script. So it's important to note that when you import the script, whatever system you're on, so if you're on a Mac, it's going to be as simple as like dropping it into the application. But when you're on an iPad, it's a little bit different. I will preface this with that every slide here is from the iPad version. If you guys are on a Mac and you'd like something as explained as thoroughly as I have with the iPad on the Mac side, just let me know. I'll totally do that. But just stay with me. This is going to be the iPad version that you're watching as far as screens go. So when you start get this script, and this kind of answers Ziggy's question, if you're day playing for a main script supervisor who is using Scripty or Scarets, how would the imports and exports work? So here's how you're going to ask them. You're going to ask them to export the script to you and send it to you in an email. And then on your iPad, make sure that your email account is set up on your iPad, because you're going to go to your Mail app. In this case, I use the default Mail app. And then you're going to find that email. So in this case, I have the sitcom script for class. And then down below, you're going to see the attachment of that script. So I have Outmatched PDF down there. You're going to tap on that PDF icon that's in the email. That will then open up the script. So you're going to see the whole PDF and everything. From this screen up at the upper right-hand side, you're going to see the little share key. Don't tap the one next to it that looks like a little marker in a circle. You're going to want to type on that share key feature. That's going to then next take you to this screen. So if you haven't seen this screen before, this is the way that the applications can share certain files, how you can send files to different people. The main thing we're going to be looking at is that third column or third row. So the first row would be like the file name. The second row is if you have any hot contacts that you frequently reach out to. That's what that second row is. This third row where it starts with AirDrop is what you're going to want to look at. You're going to scroll across until you get to Scriptation. Boom, copy to Scriptation's right there. You're going to tap on that, and it's going to go ahead and open it in Scriptation. We'll get to that in a minute, because what happens if Scriptation is not listed in that? If you just recently downloaded Scriptation, or maybe you're alternating between a whole bunch of apps on your phone and it's not showing. So we're going to keep scrolling all the way to the end, and you're going to come across this little icon called More. It's dot, dot, dot. You're going to tap on that, and then it's going to give you a list of all the applications that this PDF can be placed into on your iPad. You're going to scroll down and go to Copy to Scriptation. You're going to tap on that, and it's going to do the same thing where it imports it into Scriptation. So once you do that, it's going to open up this screen. When you get here, we can, since we already created the folder for Outmatched, we can easily scroll down, tap on Outmatched, and then it'll import it into that folder. However, if we haven't created a folder, something that I want to point out to you guys is, because I sometimes get super happy, and I'm like, ooh, script, and then I don't create the folder. You can always create the new folder from this screen as well. It's the same process. You just tap new folder. It has you type in the name of it, you hit save, it'll show up in this list, you tap it, and then it imports it. And then so we scroll down, we tap on that folder, it will automatically open that folder, and then that folder will be empty, and this is where we'll want to tap select. Once we're happy with where we're placing it. So if you have a lot of subfolders, so say you have the main folder, which is Outmatched, and then you have the episode number folder, so you'll click on that. You can keep going until you get to the folder where you want this to fall into, and then you'll click on select. Once you hit select and everything's happy, it will bring you to the screen with the script open. Do you import a call sheet the same way? Yes, this is universal to any PDF that you import into the scriptation process. So yeah, you'll make sure that you have that folder created for production docs or whatever, and then you can import it the same steps as you did. If you need to have multiple scripts open, you can definitely do that. So say you're working 3 episodes for the day. You can have 3 scripts open. So I'm going to take you guys through the top navigation bar real quick. So we have this bar where we've got the 3 dots, and then we've got the middle bar where we have the layer, the actor, annotate, transfer, and then the reader bar. Tim's going to talk about another tool that's being added to this bar, so stay tuned for that. And then on the far right, we are going to talk about the share button, the search feature, bookmarking, and how to edit the pages so you can navigate through Scriptation with the script. Quickly on the upper left, we have the 3 dots with the lines. That's going to get you back to the home screen when you have a script open. And then let's go to the middle bar here. So we have layers, we have actors, annotate, transfer, and readers. So the layers, I'm going to show you guys how you can do some layers, because this is how I use Scriptation to do my blocking. And if there's something that's temporary, and I also do a layer for continuity photos. So I'll talk about layers here in a second. And then the thing next to it is actor. So as a script supervisor, sometimes we end up reading lines off screen because either the actor's not there or it's a phone call scenario. This is key because you can do any kind of actor highlighting. So say Kay and Mike are off screen and this is Nicole's coverage. You can quickly highlight Kay and Mike's lines and you can see exactly when you need to speak up. So that's what I use it for. Actors and directors use this to kind of know, oh, hey, do we have such and such actor in this scene? And when they're reading lines with someone, that's what they tend to use, is something like this. The next is the annotate bar. So if you're in Scriptation and you're not seeing the bars that you see on the left and right here, you need to tap the annotate in that main header, because that's what hides and shows the annotate. That's where you're going to have all your tools to mark up the script. The big thing to note about this annotate bar is depending on where it's located on your screen, so whether it's on the sides or if it's on the top, it's going to limit the amount of tools you can see. If it's on the side, it's only going to show you a select few tools. So if it's up at the top, you're going to see all the tools that are available. What you can use to get access to the tools that are hidden is you can sometimes use this little caret key that's at the bottom corner of them, and that'll pop up some other options. But in general, you kind of have to just rotate the screen and or move the annotate bar to be able to have access to the additional tools that are not showing at that time. Unfortunately, right now, because of the way that Scriptation is built, you can't select what tools show up on this bar. It is something that they are working on, but it's something to be aware of when you're working in the Scriptation app itself. So what are the different tools? Now, you guys are going to get this PDF in a packet I'm going to send it to 161 so that way they have this to give to you guys. But there's a number of tools that are in Scriptation. If you guys have used PDF Expert or something similar to this, you're going to have very similar tools and know what to do with them. So there's some ones that I definitely want you to pay attention to more than others. Obviously, the other way that you can highlight the tools or highlight the text is through this highlighter tool. Now that actor highlight doesn't go anywhere. So if you export the script and you have the actor's lines highlighted under that actor button, it's not going to export with that highlight. However, if you do want something on the script highlighted, you do want to use this highlighter tool here at the top. It's the little A with the solid. This goes specifically with text. So it's not going to work on blank space or anything. It has to be with the text. There's the underline tool, which is an awesome suggestion. If you have props or something, you can underline them. There's also the strikeout tool. So that strikeout tool allows you to drag across the text again, and it just crosses it out as if it's not happening. So it's just a neater way, instead of taking your pencil and going, fix, you can do it with that. The typing tool is going to be essential because that's how you can type dialogue changes, or you type in the slate bubble number. Different things like that, and it allows you to just quickly, if you have a separate keyboard, which I highly recommend, that will allow you to do that. This sticky note tool is something that more directors use or anything like that. I don't generally use it unless it's something that a director comes up to me and says, hey, can you remind me on this scene to make sure I get this shot? You can tap this sticky note, tap where they're talking about, type it in as if it's a little sticky note, and then it'll have a little flag there that says there's a note. And when you come back to that page, you can click on it, and it'll be a nice little reminder for you to be like, hey, didn't you want such and such shot? That's what you can use that for, but I very rarely use it for anything else. The pen tool is what's going to help you make Scriptation feel like it's more pen and paper, because you can draw on it, you can do your marks, notations. That's what I use to do my blocking diagrams, different things like that. Now this highlighter marker tool, this is a freestyle marker tool that marks up anything. So if you want to shade a whole page green, you can do that with this highlighter marker tool. But again, this is one that is going to go on the export version, so it's different from that actor highlight. The line drawing tool. So when you are drawing a straight line, so say they're doing a wide shot and you just want to go, boop, everything's on camera. I use that. In the multicam world, I use that straight line more than I do anything else, just because everything's on camera, all cameras are rolling, and it's just a matter of me wiggling back up to wherever we restarted as throughout the take. So that's something to be aware of. The circle drawing tool, which is here at the bottom left, that's what I use to draw my little bubbles around my slate names, so that way it's very obvious to the editor where they're at. So that's what I use there. Again, I don't usually use the picture tool, so you can insert a picture. That's something, if you want to go above and beyond, you can create a specific layer for that, where you just put continuity photos. And after a scene shot, you just say, this is my continuity photos. You put picture of every character or anything of the set, and you can have that as an easy glance to come back to. So you can definitely use it that way. And then there's the little stamp tool. Jonathan uses this specifically in multicam to give the writer's assistant or the script coordinator a heads up on things that are changing. He'll talk more about that. And then the copy tool, I don't really use. It's just if you wanted to copy one, like a straight line, you drew a straight line and you want to just copy and paste that into another section of that script, you can use that. The eraser tool is helpful if you accidentally are drawing with the pen or the highlighter and you want to erase something. That works really well for that. And then the select tool, this I use if I need to delete multiple annotations. So say I've been drawing the blocking and all of a sudden it's gotten complicated and I want to simplify it, I can just highlight all of it using the select tool, trash everything, and redraw it if I want to. If you are using an Apple Pen, this is how you will know that the Apple Pen is synced, because it will appear there. One note too is if you try to use any of the tools that are attached to that Apple Pen, it will not let you do anything unless the Apple tool is touching the screen. So you'll come down to this menu to disconnect it if you want to just use your finger. And then you have your traditional undo and redo. The X here closes the bar. So again, that top annotate bar turns it on and off. You can also turn it off from here. And then you'll want to drag the bar using this little 2 lines down below. So that's all the tools that are available on the annotate bar. A good note from Sean says, if you hold down the picture, you can also add sound. I did not know that. That's amazing. So if you have a picture of a character and they're saying the name in a specific way, you can tap record that pronunciation, and then any other actor that's new to the set, or you have a day player and they don't quite know, you can just play that back for them so they can hear it. That's amazing. That's awesome. Do the pics export into the notes as well, or is that a separate layer thing? If you create it into its own layer, then it won't be exported unless you're selecting that specific layer. But if you are just putting it in with your line script and all that, it will export everything together all at once. The little annotate bar. Here's how you can highlight using that shade bar. So like I said, it's attached to text. So you're going to highlight just like you would on anything. You're just going to tap and hold and then drag across your screen. Don't let go. And then the minute you let go, the text that was highlighted will be highlighted nonetheless. So that's how that kind of works. If you want to change the color of the highlight or any of the tools, if you want to change the tool color, you just make sure that the tool that you're choosing to change is highlighted. So in this case, the highlighter is selected. And then at the bottom of the screen, it's going to pop up this new little bubble that the little color key. So make sure that the tool is selected, the little color key, and then it has a whole bunch of pre-selected colors that you can choose from. Most of them, if you hit the little color tab here, you can then select a custom color to fit your needs. So that's how that works there. And then the pen tool is just like as if you're using a pencil. So this is a little preview of that. So I'm going to watch Sips Coffee. So that way we know Stephanie is sipping coffee. I just write it out as if it was pen and paper, and ta-da. So that's a fun feature to know that you can do that as if you were pen and paper. Here's the text tool. So you're going to type. It will pop up the keyboard if you don't have a Bluetooth keyboard attached to your iPad. So just know it's going to cover some of that screen, but you can just tap on the words or whatever you'd like. It does have an edit bar. So if you need to change the font, the color, or any size of it, so that's going to be something you can do all right here. And that was a terrible circle. I basically just crossed it out. But that whole bar right there is how you can change the font or any of the details of that as well. So that's an option for you. And then as soon as it's typed, you just tap away and then you can place it, you move it around, all that kind of stuff. Now, how do you line in Scriptation? That's what I mainly use Scriptation for, is for aligning. So you can obviously use the pen tool. That's what I used here with the different colors. So I use the type thing, I type the bubble, and then I go and get the pen. So that way I can just do the straight line and the squiggle. So it looks more like I'm pen and paper. If you're a little bit more anal, you can definitely use the draw a straight line. However, just know with this line tool, it's not as what you'll see in movie Slate 8. It's not a tram line that you can easily erase and then put the squiggles. So you're going to be like doing short line, short line, short line, and then with the pen going back and doing those squiggles. And then again, if you don't see the tools, make sure to either tap the screen or turn it portrait view so you can see all of that. And then the bubble obviously is to circle it so that way the editor can see that. So if I were to line this script with the, obviously this doesn't have scene numbers, but we're going to play that there is a scene number. I'm going to put my toolbar at the top. I'm going to hit the type key. We're going to pretend this is scene 2. So I'm going to be like, this is 2. I'll take the little circle key, and then I'm going to draw a circle around the number 2. And then I'm going to draw a straight line. So if this is a wide shot, that's perfect because then I can do that. I'll tap away from the lining tool. So that way I can go into the line itself. I can then choose the end version. So if I want to do like the hash mark to indicate that's where it ended, or you can do a straight line. I usually do that one. You can also change the top of the line as well if you'd like. That's a couple different options. With this old way of lining, and until we get the new way of lining the script, if you have someone that's off camera, you can't just go in and erase. Say Fran was off, you can't erase it. So you do have to be where you have to do it manually, where say everything's on screen until then. So we'll do that, and then I'll go into inspector. I'll hit end of line to keep it straight. I will then use my pen feature to then go squiggle, 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 squiggle. And then I'll continue it with a straight line to wherever that take ended. So that's how I generally line it. Obviously, this can become very time consuming to a degree if you have multiple cameras, but that's how the lining kind of works right now. This is something that if you're on table reads or if you're out in the field and some changes are happening and you're getting a new version of the script that you just want to kind of note on your own that it's been changed, you can use a stamp feature to kind of signify those things. I usually use the little green check mark to notate if I'm in a table read. I'll notate if a change has been approved. So in this case, the sipping coffee. So Stephanie's anxiously awaiting Ivan to get home. In the table read, they're like, oh, well, let's make her sip coffee. Let's add that in. So I will notate the sipping coffee and then put a green check mark next to that. So that way, when I send it to the writer assistant, they'll be like, oh, okay, so that was a new change and it was approved. So I just need to make those changes. It just makes it very more obvious in that stamp feature. The next thing I want to bring to your guys' attention is the transfer button that's option in Scriptation. The transfer option allows you to move your notes from one version of the script to the next version of the script. Now this is, I would say, 85 to 90% accurate. There is still a couple like, oh, I don't know what happened there. So just be aware when you do use that, it may not be 100% accurate. You will want to double check that everything transferred over correctly. But say in this example, we got Knives Out. So that was the draft, the shooting draft. And then we got the next draft. So in this case, version 2, or if you got blue pages, pink pages, all of that, you can use this transfer button to take your annotations for scenes you've already completed from that first version to that next version. This is a paid version if you want to get what's called the Scriptation Compare. So if you're doing breakdowns and you don't have time with this new script to read it through and really get thorough with what changed, you can kind of rely on the Scriptation Compare, because what it's going to do is send a report to you of what the changes are, what pages, how many changes, if dialogue got changed, scenes got removed. All of that is going to be in that Scriptation Compare. So that's something that I really enjoy using in general on a lot of TV shows, because I can just quickly at a glance go, okay, so that scene's changed. It's now a blue coat, not a red coat, and go through that. Will it save a copy of the previous colored version? Yeah, so it doesn't, like, it won't override and then Knives Out and Knives Out version 2 merge together. They're still kept separate. So that's the nice thing, is you can always go back to that original in case something went a little haywire in that transfer. So let me see if it'll do this little fun video here. This is showing how to do that transfer key. So we have Knives Out to Knives Out 2. What you want to do is have the version of the Knives Out 2 open, because we're going to transfer the old Knives Out notes into the new one. So you want to make sure that new draft is open. We're then going to click, yes, we want the Scriptation Compare. It's going to do its thing called preparing a layer and then saving annotations. And the import is complete. So we have 5 imported annotations, 0 changes, 0 deleted annotations. And then it's generating the report. We save that Scriptation Compare report. And then it's having us select where we want to have it saved. And then this is the final result. So it says current draft, or previous script 3 pages, current script 3 pages. And then I think I showed, yeah, so this is what the report looks like, is it'll say, okay, this is the text here. The crossed out is the new change. The if there's something replaced, it'll be put right underneath. So instead of 2 dot Fran's trace lips, it's 2 dot then 2. So you're going to get this kind of report if you decide to use that Scriptation Compare. Like I said, it's about, I would say, 85 to 90% accurate. You still want to comb through it, but it gives you an idea of what you need to flag on your end to really take a look at in order to know what changed and what didn't change at a glance. It doesn't replace you being able to do your own breakdowns, and this is where I'm showing the annotation didn't 100% go through. So everything did transfer, but because a certain scene got cut smaller, I needed to change my notes to where the lining ended at that specific scene, and my blocking notes went over to that as well. And then this last tool I'm going to go over real quick because it has very little to do with us. What it does is it's a reader, the reader option. It turns the scriptation into a teleprompter. So if you are reading with someone, you could use this version if you wanted to, and it has an auto scroll, so you can set the pacing for it. You can size up or size down the text, but it turns it into a teleprompter essentially. So nothing for us, but I just wanted to explain in case you guys go, how come she didn't talk about that? That's why. The last thing I want to talk about is on the menu side here on the right. This is where we're going to be sharing the script. So there's a couple different ways you can export. In the pages section, you can either choose all the pages, the annotated pages, or specific range or current page. So if I were to export this document, I can go into pages, and current page would be the page that's currently open on my screen. So that's what it means by current pages. I can also do pages 1 through 3. I can just choose, hey, I only want 1 or 2. And then I can choose the annotated pages. So whatever pages have lines on for that day, that's what's being annotated, but it does also go back. So if you're on day 3 of a feature and you want to send just the annotated pages, it's going to send all of them through day 1, day 2, day 3. There's not really a way to separate and say, I just want the annotations from today. If you guys are part of the Movie Slate 8 group tomorrow, I'll show you tomorrow how you can specifically say, I just want X date exported, and that's a way to do it in Movie Slate 8. The other options you have too is the annotation. You can do the embedded annotation. So that's where any annotations that you have, so like we have the line, we have the highlights, all of that is going to become permanent in the file, but then whoever receives the PDF, they can go ahead and change those information as well. You can choose to flatten the annotations. What that means is they will be placed permanently in this doc and not be editable. So if you're using Adobe Acrobat Pro, you can go in there and change things because there is an edit PDF. But in this case, if you flatten that annotation, nobody will be able to go in and change those. You can also say, hey, ignore my annotations. So if somebody's saying, hey, can you just send me a clean draft of what script you have so I can make sure, you can just hit ignore annotations so that way it doesn't send everything. You can also have it send the summary of the annotations. I don't see how us as script supervisors, we would really do that because a lot of what we need is to send everything, but this would just say, hey, on page 2, there was a circle, page 2, there was a number 2 added, highlight. So it's just a list of things. So don't necessarily worry about that per se. If we wanted to go ahead and share it, we would just tap the share. And then similar to how we imported a script into Scriptation, we're going to export the script as well. So you can choose either an airdrop. Sometimes my DIT will have an Apple, so I can airdrop it to them to put on the drive, or I can select to mail it. Or if I need to upload it to a drive, I can do that as well. Because sometimes the productions will have that option where they have a production folder that they're uploading the script notes to. And then the search doc, the little hourglass there, that's the search feature. So this is going to search everything through the script. So if you need to know, the director comes up to you and says, hey, what scene is Molly in? I thought she was in scene 3. You can go in there, type in Molly, and it'll bring up wherever Molly's instances are in the script. And then you can confirm and say, okay, there's Molly here in scene 5, scene 6, scene 7. So no, you're not crazy, director. She's not in scene 3. So that's that section. Now we're going to go through bookmarks. This is a way that I use it from day 1, day 2, day 3 to do exporting and for me to be able to jump between the scenes that we are working that day per the call sheet. This is a script that I have from way back when. If you guys have Disney Plus, this is Earth to Ned. So if you guys have seen that, small plug, that's what this one is. So what you can do is in the bookmark section, if there's no bookmarks and you select it, so you see that it went gray up in the upper right hand side there. If there's no bookmarks, then it will not pop up anything. And it'll also say no bookmarks. So you can add a bookmark just by typing in the little book and then hitting a plus sign, and that's going to bookmark the current page. So if I want to bookmark a couple different pages here, so we're going to bookmark this page here, add, because that's the next scene we're doing, and then we're going to do this scene. So those are the 3 scenes. So you can do it that way. That's how I do it. At least Tim might have a different workflow. So I'm going to invite him to possibly discuss this as well. And then I can go into each bookmark as we go and edit that. The nice thing is see how it says bookmark on each one. And I'm like, well, I know it's page 34, page 38, and 43, but what scene did I really bookmark? And so that way I can jump back and forth between them easily. I can click on the little edit at the bottom, and then I can tap here where it says bookmark, and then I can type in, okay, this is scene 13A, and this is scene 16, and then here's 16B. And then I can tap done. So that way, as I'm going through the day, I can be like, oh, okay, we're setting up for 16B. Great, and it's gonna bring me straight to 16B in that manner. Let me go ahead and go into layers. I do keep my blocking note layer separate from my continuity photo layer, separate from the line script that I send the production. So let me go ahead and pull up a good script here. We'll go to Last Wish. So with Last Wish, if you click on layers, you're going to see default and then test, because that's what I was playing with this one. Whatever one has the little eyeball next to it, that's the layer that's currently available for you to view. If I tap on test, it's going to change layers, and it's going to be clean because on this test one I haven't added anything to it. But if I go back, that's going to tell me that that's what layer I'm on. Again, you can always rename it any way you want just by tapping on the 3 little dots. You can also share this layer if you need to using those 3 dots. So say on this, I need to add, this is my continuity layer. So I'm going to come in here, I'm going to rename it and call it continuity. Forgive me, I'm doing this rather fast, photos. So this is going to be my continuity photos. And then say I need to add a photo for scene 2 because we have Billy and we want to make sure that the wardrobe's correct. So I would click on the photo. If you're in the moment, you can use your camera. If you're on an iPad, you can just use the camera, do a quick photo there. If not, you can go into the photo library and then you can find that photo. So in this case, we'll pretend this is from it. It's from my fiance's show of cooking with the average fat guy. So say this is for scene 2, I can just include that in my notes, and that's on a layer for itself. So if I go back to my line script, that photo is not going to show up. It's specifically just so that way the editor isn't bombarded with all my stills or photos for continuity. But yeah, I would add another layer for blocking, so that way I can draw all over that. There is a way to merge the layers. So say you accidentally created 2 layers that were the line script and they have different notes on each of them, different scene notes. You can merge those layers together. I highly recommend don't do that. The best way I can suggest, so let me go ahead and create a new line script. I'll just say V2 just for the sake of time. So say I created line script 2. I started aligning some of the script on this page and I was like, oh crap, I shouldn't have done that. I'm just making annotations to kind of show you guys. You can choose to merge these layers. So I can go, okay, merge this line with this line, and then I can go merge, and I'll just call this test. And hopefully it'll do it correctly. So what it's doing is it's merging my notes between the 2 versions. So as you see, the little like marks that I made on that one specific page transferred over and it compiled itself with the previous lined notes. So you can do that. I just highly recommend that you be cautious when you do that. And double check what got transferred over and that everything got transferred over correctly. I would not use the merge for new versions. I would use the transfer key if you get like a blue or pink version of the script and you're working off the white or blue. Use the transfer key. Don't use this layer merge for that. This is a great question. How can I show more than one layer at a time? So when you're in a script, let me go to one that's clean. So we'll tap on layers. I'm going to create a new layer so that way we can make this happen. So new layer. And we'll just do this local 161 layer. So now I have two layers. To show both layers, I want to make sure whatever I'm notating in, that's the one that I select. So in this case, I want to notate the local 86 or 161. And then I'm going to hit layers. And you're going to use the show hide that's up at the very top. So right underneath where it says September 12th, it says show hide. So you're going to click on that, and then you're going to click and make sure that the checkbox is next to the script that you want to show, or the layer that you want to show alongside that layer. And then you're going to hit go, and then it makes it happen. Just remember, whatever the base layer is, that's the layer that these notes are all going into. So this is where if you have a blocking layer, you can have the line script underneath it and show both at the same time. So in this section, the little quad squares is what I call it. It's the farthest right icon. When you click on this, it's going to give you, like, as if you flew out into outer space of all the script pages that are available. The first thing I'm going to walk you guys through is the menu bars here, and then it's going to be the edit side. So some of you guys are asking, how can you insert a facing page into this? This is where you're going to do it, and this is a paid feature. So again, you're going to have to upgrade to the pro side in order to do this. If you want to import facing pages, daily report, sometimes I do this. What I do is I create a folder in my Scriptation main page called forms. So I'll tap on that, and this is where I have my daily report, so I'm going to open that, and then I have my editorial log, so I'm going to open that, and then I have my facing page. So I'm going to open all of these. So you want to make sure they're ready and accessible, and then you're going to tap this four-square thing. You're going to tap on that edit button, and it's going to bring up a couple different options here. The facing page is not what it seems. That seems deceiving to us as script supervisors. The facing option at that top bar is just a way to add blank pages in front of every script page. So a lot of directors use that so they can do their storyboarding or do their notes, whatever. That's not our, as a script supervisor, facing page. The next to it is an add button, but again, that's where it's adding either a full page image or a grid style page. Not for us. So what you're going to want to do is, because you have these different documents in a PDF already and they're open, you'll want to use the select feature. So that's up at the top here. Once you do that, it'll bring a little solid bubble, as you see. You tap on the page that is, it'll put a little check mark there, and then you're going to select copy up at the middle. So it's copying that. Then I'm going to go into the script that I want to insert that facing page into. So it's this one. And then because it resets every time, you're going to tap those four squares. I'm going to go into the edit, and then I'm going to hit paste. So it's right next to where select is. You're going to hit paste, and it's going to paste my facing page in. I'm going to continue to do that for however many pages of the script there are. Again, on a feature, it's not quite feasible to do this. We're working on a way to make this an automatic way. I'll talk about that here in a second. And then once all of that's entered, you can just tap on the PDF, move it on over, so that way it's in between. Oh, come on. There we go. In between the script pages, and it's laid out how it needs to be for me. Once all of it's laid out, you're going to tap that little save icon. So as I mentioned, everything in Scriptation kind of automatically saves. However, this is that one time you are going to have to hit that save key, or it's not going to save it. If you try to exit out without hitting that save key, it'll say you have unsaved changes. Do you really want to leave? And that's where at least it alerts you. So again, that same process, because I put my editorial log in there as well. So I hit the editorial log, the four squares up, or I'll hit the edit. I'm already in the four squares, so hit edit, hit the select, grab that, hit copy. And so now it's copied. I'm going to go into the script that I want to insert it into. You hit the little four keys, go back into that edit, hit paste, and it's right there at the front, which is where I want my editorial log. And then I'm going to hit save. And then I'm going to go to the daily report and again, repeat the same process. I'm going to go a little quicker. on this, and then go to Knives Out, Quad Split, Edit, Paste. And so now I have all of my forms that I would need all put into this section. And as I'm going through, I can go ahead and be like, all right, let's just start with the daily report. I'm going to scroll in here. So then I can just start filling in the pertinent details on the screen as I see fit. If I need to add more facing pages or editorial pages as we're going, I can definitely do that later on. And I can be like, see you, slate one, take one, all of that, or I can type it in, whether that's that itself. Say we got new pages for Fairy All the Way. I'm just gonna go back here and just add a random script. Let me go to Last Wishes. Let me do Learning Curve. So say these are the new pages that we received for dialogue. I'm gonna repeat that same process where I'm gonna tap Edit, and then I'm gonna select these. So I'm gonna tap Select. These are the new pages. And then I'm gonna select Copy. It's copying everything. Now that that's copied, I'm gonna go back to my script and repeat that same process. Go up to the top right, tap those 4 buttons, tap on the Edit, and then select Paste. And then all of them are gonna be there. If there's 2 pages that I have to move simultaneously, so say this is page 10 and 11, I can select that. Oh, I have to do it individually. So you do have to drag and drop those pages individually into those specific pages. So if you have 10A and 11B or 11A pages, that's how you would put those new pages that you just received into the current draft of the script that you have. And then you always want to make sure you tap Save. This is the only screen in all of Scriptation that you do have to tap Save. What about using the sides feature? How do I use that? What you can do is if you tap on the sides option, and I'm sorry it went really fast, but if you type on the sides feature, you can select certain pages of the script to make the sides. So I know we're shooting page 17, 18, 19 today, and then we're also going to be shooting 26, 27, and 28. When you select these pages, it's only going to pull these pages specifically and create the sides. So you can go here and you can say day 5 and then hit the dash, and you're going to hit save. It's going to ask you where to save it. I just want it in the folder so I can show you guys. And then I can work off of this version for these side pages for the scripts. So I can line it. All of that information is right here. So that's how to create sides. And then this, you would just treat it like a regular script. And if you needed to export it at the end of the night, you would just hit share. So my suggestion when you're doing this with the sides is work in the full script. Don't do this at the beginning of the day. Go ahead and work in your full script. And then when it's time to export the pages for the night, that's where you're going to go in and create the sides at the end of the night. The reason why is so that way you don't have to go back with these sides already marked up, and then you have to take these, copy them, and then paste them and override the original pages in the initial episode file. So again, work from the primary main file, create the sides at the end of the day, and then send those sides so that way editorial is only getting those days notes, if that makes sense. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to bring in 2 awesome people to take it from here. Now that we all kind of have an idea of how to navigate Scriptation, I'm going to bring in Jonathan and Tim. Tim's going to be first. He's the one that has been doing a lot of single camera. He's done features, he's done commercials. He recently just wrapped on Schooled for, I believe, ABC. Correct me if I'm wrong, Tim.
We got canceled.
Yeah, I got canceled, but it was cool anyway.
It was cool, yeah, it was great.
So he's going to take over from here and talk to you guys about his workflow working in the single camera area. So take it away, Tim.
Thanks, Ro. Hey, good morning, everybody. Take a second now. I know we've been sitting here for a couple hours. I don't know if you want to stretch it out or step or do something. What I'm going to do is show you some of the new tools. Basically, I want to talk about the new tool. I don't know why it's not showing. that's going to be coming out in Scriptation here in the near future. And it's going to be the lining tool. Is it coming yet? Now, I don't know if you can see up here above this. I can't quite draw up there, but there's a new tab. There's a new section called lining. And this is specifically for us as script supervisors. Now, it's a slightly different approach. I'm used to using, I'm a Scarrett guy, so I'm used to picking the start, picking the end, and then filling it in and adjusting there. In this one, you kind of start wide and punch in as you go. So here's how it works. You press the lining button, and it's going to pull up the entire script broken down. Now, this hide cover scenes, because my first page is not a cover page, it's straight into the scenes, it asks about the cover page. So what you want to do is you're going to say, which scene are you shooting? All right, well, let's start with scene 1. You have the option to change the slate if you want it different, if you want to call it A1 or 101, if you're shooting a commercial, you can do whatever you want. And then you just, if you're not going to change that, you press generate. And what happens is, up on scene 1, it generates a box and an end line, and that's that. It's very simple. You start wide, you punch down close. All right? To do, and you just, let's do another one now with the second camera. It'll automatically bump the slate forward, add a second camera. Now, this is weird in that it's not A cam or B cam, or it's camera 1 or 2. But these camera numbers never show up anyplace, so it's not really that important if it doesn't match A cam to A cam. And as you can see here, there's your 2 lines. It currently will handle up to 4 cameras. Generate, and there you go. At this time, you're not able to change the colors, but that is something they're working on. And I know it's very important because right now, your single camera, it can only be red. So if you're working with a B camera and you want it to be blue, the current version doesn't support that, but Steve's aware. And like I said, this is a pre-beta version. So some of these things, things we've addressed that he's fixing, some of these things are still in the works. When you have a scene that includes people, go to the lining, let's go to scene 2, camera 1, and it's a simple dip switch. Is Frankie on or off camera? If we put him on camera and generate, it'll give you a straight line through Frankie. If you want to do one where he's off camera, let's go back to scene 2. You just don't check him. Let's add a couple cameras. And it'll automatically generate and show him as off camera. So generating the lines is super easy. Like I said, you just pick whichever scene you want, however many cameras you want, up to 4 right now. And like I said, there's going to be an option to be able to change the colors, so you'll be able to do as many cameras. It'll just line 4 at a time, and then for like cameras 5 through 8, you'd have to do a second set of 4 and change all the colors. That makes sense, so that they're not, so that, and you can, they don't have to, let's say Frankie's on camera 2 and camera 4, but he's off on the other 2. And again, it just lines it up. Super sweet. As you see, it advances to the next page automatically. It puts the line number at the top there. For more than 4 cameras, can you add lines beside and label? Yes, absolutely. You just can't change the colors. So I can go to B again. Generate those lines, but at the moment, they're going to be the same color. So until we able to, that's coming. The color change is coming. Okay, so now I see you guys talking about changing those. So here's what we're going to do. We go to scene 3. I got 3 characters. Let's say scene camera 1 is the wide. It's going to have all 3 of them. Camera 2 is for Frankie. Camera 3 is for Connie. Camera 4 is for Eloy. And we're going to generate that. So here's where you're able to start adjusting. By clicking on an individual line segment, you can change what it is. And you can also break it down within this paragraph. So I'm going to zoom in a little closer, all right? I can change the entire line just by clicking on it, that section. I can make it dirty. I can make it straight. I can make it squiggle. I can make it dirty. The other thing it does, and you see here, is split. Oops. Let me undo that. Here in the lining tool, let me do this. Okay. So here is split. Now what it does is it zooms into that portion, that section that you want to close in on, and you just tap where you want the split to be. The top segment there, we're going to say is off camera, and the bottom segment we'll say is on camera, and then you press split, and it makes that change. And you can do that over and over again. I can split it again down here, and put the top part there on off camera, and leave it there, and it'll make that adjustment. The other thing it'll let you do is if you have the selection tool, you can choose multiple lines and make them all change at once, if they decide that's off camera. Now the split, currently the split function only works one line at a time. But you can split it down into tiny, tiny pieces, right? So let's go to, let's see, we're only going to see her at the top, and then after that, it cuts to away. When fine-tuning the lines, how do you define? Currently, and this is something we're working on, currently that is not up to us. I'm going to do two cameras here for them. Oh, let's do this. When you hit that segment, right, I can see that this entire piece is selected. Currently, you're not able to break that down any further. Now, here's the other thing is I can also end the shot there, all right, to adjust where the shots start and end. Okay, if I click on that, end all will end both cameras there. Reset end or reset all will make them back to the full length of the scene. So if we, oh, here it is, the ding, and that's where the scene ends. That's where the scene ends. Same way with the beginning, you can adjust, here's where we start the shot. And if you're like, oh, wait, what, a camera, what they started at the original place, the actors didn't pick up in the right spot, that's crazy. You can reset the beginning as well, all the way back up. So like, for me as a script supervisor, lining the script is the most time-consuming, pain in the butt thing to do. And this makes it, from my perspective, super easy. Like, it's very quick, it's very easy. I know that it's not perfect yet, and there's got to be some workarounds. Like, I personally, when we're doing an insert, I like to put a square around exactly what is being inserted, but I can still do that with all these tools. So it's not like I'm out anything, right? I can draw a square and go, oh, here we go. Frankie touches the frame. There's my insert. And then I can add a camera and just start the shot here. Oops. All right. This is something that I know Steve is working on, is to be able to split these. At the moment, I can't start the shot down here, so what I might do is go down to this to indicate that's all off camera, and the shot ends there. Yeah. Questions? Chef Guys, can you do that camera? Yes, you absolutely can. Over here, let's take a look at this slate 3, and let's say B camera rolled out here. All right, we can just end that camera, just that single one, and let the others roll out. And then you can still add a note if you need to. What else? Other questions? Camera shot dots for the other ones? All right, yeah. So this goes on and on all the way across. Now, it'll go all the way across. If you're doing, obviously, if you have fewer cameras, you can fit more in. I believe it'll fit 12 across single camera. If you're doing 4 cameras, it can only handle, I want to say 6 or maybe 8 slates, in which case you would just have to go in and edit. You could just copy this, select, copy, paste, and then you can go into this one and start it over. Right, and then just delete these and start with a fresh page. As far as I know, there's some stuff coming down the pipe. What if 4-camera only A and D? That's an excellent question. In that case, this is something that I've been bugging Steve for, is to be able to change the colors. In that case, we've got 2 cameras, right? Camera A and camera D. In this case, it'll draw 2 cameras. It just, we need a way to specify that this second camera we need to be able to change the color, which I'm told is coming. It's just not there yet. And again, these tools are still pre-beta. So sometime either at the end of this month or the beginning of October, watch for a call out for beta testers. I know Steve's going to be putting a call out. So there is a Facebook group called Scriptation for Script Supervisors. If you're not already in it, search it, join it, and watch for, there's a lot of questions answered, and watch for when Steve puts a call out for beta testers. Should be coming in the next couple weeks. In your example here, even though Frankie's lines of diagonal are lined with a zigzag, his action describing the page straight through them. You could also zigzag that out if you want. For example, down here, you're talking about like in this one, right? We don't see Frankie yet until here, till he comes in. So I'd split that and I'd squiggle that top, and now we're off camera here until he enters, right? We're off camera until he comes in here. Oh, great. Thanks, Steve. There's a link to the Facebook group, Scriptation for Script Supervisors. Yeah, and like I said, once you're in there, you can rename this. So once we did get colors, this could just be a continuation of two Baker. Once we get different colors in here, then that could be additional cameras. There'll be an option to have the framing indicated on the lines, and then have the lines read left to right, wides to close-ups. That's a good question. I don't think so. I think this is just going to be strictly for the lining tied to, like 2B will tie to your facing page, which will say wide shot or something else. You can, though, if you want in here, in the rename slate, you can also add wide shot. If something like that works up, you know, when you're renaming close up in your slate names, if that helps you. For pickups, what I typically do is just throw a line. Where's my line? I'll do like two pickup, something like that. I'd make the colors match, you know, try to at least. Inspector, make that black for all of them. Maybe even go across like that. The two pickup, you know. Yeah. Oh, let's pick it up before it comes in, or pick it up before it picks up an index. You know. So the idea expect. Oh, let's see. It doesn't go to how many spaces. All right, so we see there that it kind of handles them, but it's going to make it smaller. It's going to cram all. Yes, sorry, 2B pickup. I was rushing through. Or take two. I actually might just go take two because it's only for this this particular slate. So I'm not afraid they're gonna think that's set up two because it's not lined all the way across. Yeah, so I'm super excited about this tool. It's gonna, for me, it's gonna make my workflow super quick. Speaking of workflow, touching on something that Roe had at the end of her section in end of the day stuff, I personally like to use this tool up here, this tap in the corner, and it's like the sides tool, right? So what I do is I go in here and even though it says sides, I'll hit it, but I'll just select all the stuff I want to send. Oh, I worked on these today. I worked on these today. I worked on these today. And it's not really my sides. Now it's my whatever you want to call it. And for me, that's a faster way than trying to go, oh, wait, that was page 4 through 8, 9 through 10, 6 through 19, you know, something like that. For me, it's just a lot easier to use that function up here in the corner. You guys can see what I'm talking about. And then technically, it's like you're making sides, but for me, that's easier to kick those out. If the markup continually notes may not want to transfer it as a line script, you have to use a layer function. Yeah. Now the lines themselves are in a separate individual layer all by themselves. So anything you do, the lines are on their own layer. So yeah, great stuff. They're really, you know, I think it's a game changer. Again, you just go to this lining bar. You pick whatever scene you want. Okay, at this moment, again, like I said, these are in development. At this moment, we can only do one scene at a time, which obviously needs to be corrected. But like I said, this is pre-beta. So right now, this is how it works. You choose how many cameras you want. You choose who's on which camera. And you press generate. And voila. If you have to change your line during shooting, what do you mean change? You mean change the lining or change the dialogue? You mean like changing the dialogue? Like if somebody says, oh, wait a minute, that idea. Yeah. Something like that. Yeah, when you export it, that'll be on that as well. Although I usually make that red. And again, this is all PDF. Do I work? I do my lining on the iPad, and then I use my laptop for the facing pages, all the other Scarrett forms. The other Scarrett forms. If a layer of notes for editor and another layer of notes just for you. Yes, that is correct. So if you want an additional layer, I'm gonna try, it's not giving me a new layer. Steve, why no new layer? Beta.
Is it because you're using the new beta version? Because I wonder, because like I was able to do it, Tim. I don't know.
Possibly.
Sorry.
I know. I was just like, hey, wait a second. But I know that the lines themselves are on their own separate layer. Yeah, this tool is not available yet. This is still pre-beta. Once you get in that group, you watch for a call for beta testers, because we want people to get out and use it, real world, on the job, get in, play with it. One of the things I would suggest about this and how I learned most of this stuff was just get the program and mess with it. One of the things I love is that it's all PDF. It's all PDF based. It's a PDF manipulator. So you don't have to worry about having lock scripts or this or that. It's just a PDF manipulator, and it throws the lines on top of it.
Cool. So Tim, something that I think is a good question here is, when this feature does become available, will you be able to carry this over several scene numbers? So say like a phone call that starts in scene 4, continues in scene 6, continues.
Yeah, I know Steve and I had a long conversation about multiple scenes and skipping scenes. And if you're in a phone call and then it cuts away to something else happening and then cuts back to the phone call, you need to be able to. So I know that's in the works. I know that's, like I said, a lot of things that we talked about. He was like, oh yeah, okay, I can do that. Like making this changeable, being able to rename the slates. That was something they were like, oh yeah, okay, boom, and it happened. So I know there's a lot of things that are still coming down the line. That's just, this is pre-beta. Super excited because this is what takes me the longest. And I'm just really happy that I'm able to do this and then flip to my continuity layer, flip to the blocking layer. So yeah, any other questions about the linings, about the new tools coming down the pipe? It's funny, I know it used to be called the Script Supervisor tab, which it says here on the tab, but it's still not in the thing. I like lining.
Mm-hmm. So yeah, Tim, I think
I can't wait.
Yeah, while we're waiting for a couple more questions, let's talk about how you start the day. So let's what do you do with Scriptation, or how do you do your breakdowns? What are some things that are good to use Scriptation for, and what are some of the limitations currently with Scriptation in your workflow?
For me, I like to use it at the top of the day and set my bookmark. Well, the day before, I'll go in and set bookmarks. Oh, we're working scene 3 tomorrow. Okay. The same way I do, edit. Oh, scene 3. And then, so that way it's easier to skip around. I'm like, oh, and then we're up and I'll put them. The other thing, I don't know if you mentioned, but when you have them here and you edit, you can also change the order. Like, let me add a bookmark here. Call that scene 4. But if we're shooting scene 4 at the top of the day, I'll move that to the top of the list so that I can go to scene 4 and I'll go to scene 3. And then I'll put my book order list in shooting order. And that way if something changes, oh, we're going to do that one first. Okay. Now that's the change of order. So for me, that's the way I use the bookmarks. I don't know, like you said, there's a way to export all the bookmark stuff. I'm not aware of that, which is why I like to use this, and just my sides are just my output at the end of the day.
Yeah, I think I actually got Movie Slate 8 mixed up, because Movie Slate 8 does have the bookmark option versus Scriptation does not.
Gotcha.
So that's where that. So I apologize, guys, but that's, yeah.
What if I do some lining with the Apple Pen and some with the lining feature? Well, you mean the drawing? They would be 2 different layers, because the drawing, you know what? Let's find out. That's a good question. I'm going to go, and let's say we're like, oh yeah, we had the insert here on index card. And we just do to Charlie. Now let's see. Let's see if we can send this to All right, Will, what do you got?
See here, as soon as it gets in my inbox.
All right, I think I should
It
be able
has
to
to
see
go to space.
It should export, though. I believe this will be...
Yeah.
Oh, that would have been easier. Just save it. So yes, there you go. So you would be able to merge those two layers. The question about lining, if you want to line one manually and still use the tool. But you just have to make sure and change that because it's not going to know that you wrote Charlie, so you'll have to, skip that manually.
Yeah.
Put that right there on top of it. So yes, you can combine those. This is my one page. Bookmark all the pages you want in multiple page view. Can you do that? Oh, you mean in this view?
I think in the four squares, if you can tap on the four squares up at the top, and then if there's a way to bookmark them through that, which there is not, I don't think, you can view the bookmarked. Like if you were to tap on bookmark, that would bring up the pages.
Oh, the bookmark isn't, bookmarked, yeah. Oh, and then you just
can create sides from there.
Right.
But as far as creating a bookmark within that, there's not really a way in that, but that is something that maybe Steve can look into.
Yeah, to be able to just send those.
Yeah.
Very cool.
Mm-hmm. Let's see, here's a good question. If the program knows where a scene starts and ends, can you bookmark it by that scene number? Now that's something that I don't think we've gotten that far yet.
No. Well, the bookmarks actually only mark a page. So it doesn't know where on the page that starts. It just knows, oh, this is page whatever. I don't think it knows where the scene starts because I always have to end up importing that.
Yeah, because I think the lining tool knows where to start because of where the 3 is.
Because of the slug line, yeah.
Yeah, versus the bookmark's not dictated by reading the information.
And there've already been changes to this. Like for example, this used to appear above the slug line there, and people weren't having it, so we got them to move it below. They tried a circle. We've tried circles there, but the circles just take up too much space vertically, so they opted to go with the square. Yeah. Let's see, starts. Any other questions about the lining tool? Oh, and that was if you go sideways, this is what she was saying earlier. You notice there's fewer tools available on that than when you go upwards.
I think one of my questions that I have for you, Tim, so after you prepare the night before, and during that preparation, do you do any of the prep as far as highlighting your breakdowns, doing the props count or action count? Do you do any of that when you're prepping with Scriptation?
When I'm prepping the day before, I'll glance at it, I'll look at my breakdown. Mm-hmm. And just get kind of advanced. And there might be times if there's something where I'm like, oh wait, we need to make sure something happened, we shot that scene before and he's got to make sure he's got this in his right hand. I'll make sure. I usually throw that note in when we're shooting the last scene. So I'm like, oh, when he walks into scene 21, he needs to have the weapon in his left hand because that's how he left, or whatever.
Mm-hmm. And then, so take us through, you arrive on set and the first shot's up. What do you set up?
So I'll get on set, right? I set up my laptop. My laptop has, I got Scarrett, so I'll have my breakdown. I'll have my facing page, and I'll have my daily report open on my laptop. And then I'll have the script open, and when I line on it now, I line in Scarrett on the iPad. And I'm very excited about this tool coming out because it's it's a little, it's not as quick. So I'll prep all that and then, start the day. Like I'll just open everything up and make sure my connections are good and make sure I got picture, make sure I connection to camera, check in with everybody. And then usually the night before I'll reread the scenes just to familiarize myself with what's going on. Yeah, I'm not sure what you're asking.
Oh, I just wanted to know, like, so people can get an idea of, like, hey, if the slate's up, how do you currently, if you're using Scarrots to Line, obviously that's separate from here, but how does Scriptation play throughout the day?
Oh, I got you. Thank you. Okay. It's my script everywhere. Like in blocking, it's like the blocking rehearsal, and like it never occurred to me. I love that you put blocking on a different layer. I would just always write it down. And then after the thing was done, I would erase it so that I could send it in. But I don't know why I didn't, because I'm an idiot. But I love that you bring the pictures. But yeah, I'll take it and I'll make my notes, here's this and here's that. Throughout the day, I like the idea of being able to make those not visible because, I'll circle the line. Like I had an actor who could never remember, we all have them, an actor who can't remember his lines, and I don't want him to see my big arrows to this one word that he keeps dropping or mispronouncing or something. So I'll, make that invisible when he's like, hey, can I see that? So I can walk in and, show it to him. And then it's, matching notes go on Scriptation, stuff for later in the day. There's also, I don't know if you guys noticed this, but while you have the annotate bar up on this image, if you hold that, there's also a sound. So you can also record something, check baby, 1, 2, 3, and then use that, put that in somewhere.
Which is super helpful. Like if I have a director explaining something very complicated about the scene that I need to remind him about, and I don't have the bandwidth in my brain at the moment to remember it, it's really nice to say, hey, can you just repeat that for a second? And I have it recorded so I can play it back to remind him what it is. That's right. How I use it.
Yeah. That's if you're, if you're really pressed for time and you're, it's, just a cool little extra feature that, that you can use. You can also use Siri to type out notes. That's correct. Anytime you bring up that text tool, absolutely you can use Siri to type.
Aw, Siri told us that we can't screen share what he just interpreted.
What?
Good old Siri.
That was funny how it's there. I'm like, wow.
Interesting. Do those sound notes become sound files when you export things to send? That's a good question because I've yet to. It's usually on a layer that I don't export.
Yeah.
But
yeah, I do not know. That's a good question, Steve. If Steve's here, he may know that.
Yeah.
What happens to the sound files? I mean, obviously, when you share, I would think when you share a file to another user, they'd be able to get it. But I mean, there's no way it's going to be able to print it.
Yes, so it does go just like a sticky note or anything like that. It does go with the document. So just keep that in mind. If you do put in your own personal notes, put it on a layer that you won't be sharing. So to get to that sound icon, if you can walk us through that a little slower,
yep.
Tim.
Yep. It's right there, and usually it appears as the image button. If you press and hold that button, then it gives you the options. Right, then you tab image, go to library, bucket.
Aw, cute puppy.
That's bucket.
And Sean brought up a good point. Like the sound feature is also really great if you have a complicated character name or like a word that's complicated for people to pronounce.
Pronunciation, yeah.
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 That's a good point.
Cool. Or, to make a note where you want to somebody and you don't want it to be visible. Be like, that son of a... Okay, Steve's adding additional articles. Nice. All right, so yeah, so then at the end of the day, like I said, I like to use this make sides. tool to export my work. It just makes it easier for me. That's my method, you know. That's because you can also, when you make sides, let me do this, make sides, and you can just choose, you know, I mean, for me, that's easier than trying to remember 2 through 5, 6 through 9, 8 through, you know, whatever. Any update with the scribble feature will be, yeah, Steve says that it is supposed to be, because it'll be native to iOS, it should be coming eventually, sometime after that, not immediately with the update. Hey, well, Steve, while we have you there, any word on when when the beta will come out, maybe? Wonder, to just, you know, to put you on the spot and turn up the heat a little bit. He's not responding. Oh, okay, I see.
He's probably typing very fast. Oh, by the end of the month.
All
Yay,
right, cool.
party,
Very
party.
cool. Thank you, sir. Thank you.
Yeah. So Tim, as far as workflow, how, like, does this impede your workflow on set? How does this help support your workflow on set? Just give us an idea when you're working a feature or a TV series on single camera. What flexibility does this provide you?
I mean, it's so simple and so portable. I know now that we're not using paper, you know, except for I keep the facing page, you know, in my forms on my laptop. So I find it interesting that you import, you know, the facing pages into every other thing. Maybe I feel like we asked Steve about this. I want to put him on the spot again, but I feel like we asked if there would be a facing page like that you had designed. There's the option to insert that specific facing page before every page. I feel like we asked that, and he said it would be doable. But for me, for my workflow, so this will be, you know, my notes and all my matching pages. At the end of the day, I mash it all together. Once you select the sound icon, yeah, it was just a hold to record. We get sound, and I'm going to put it there. Testing 3, 2, 1, 4. Why does that not want to? There it is. Testing 1, 2, 3. Testing 1, 2. I don't know if you guys can hear that.
Yeah, that was great.
So, yeah. So basically what you do is you're going to tap sound, and then wherever you want to put like this will go anywhere you want it to go. All right. And then notice down here at the bottom, there's a record icon. So you tap that, and there's a recording. And there's a recording. I use Scriptation to track my notes, for matching notes, for blocking, for, as Ro mentioned earlier, if there's a scene where there's a conversation and I'm off camera, I'll use that to highlight my lines. So, you know, I'm trying to make it as easy as possible, obviously for the actor on the other side. You know, and then I use it throughout the day just to keep track of everything. Currently, I've been lining in Scarrett, so then today that all gets printed out and sent in one big pack. But the way I'm going to do this is, again, I'm going to export these marked pages. My end of the day, I do it like this. Every single file of mine gets a separate name. So my facing pages for scene 1 are named one thing. My marked pages for scene 1 are marked something, are named something else, so that in the folder, they all line up in order. Edit log, everything all down the line is all in order, and then I highlight all of them and I put them into one document, and then I fiddle around with that. But that's how I do my end of the day, so that when I'm working on my Scarrett and I finish up with a scene, I'll spit out all those, I'll spit out the facing pages for that scene entirely, so I don't have to worry about it at the end of the day. It's done, it's finished, boom, after I finish up all my notes. Same thing, I'll print out the marked pages, put those in the file right next to it, and then move on to the next scene. At the end of the day, when I finish up doing that, all my scenes are in my file, in my folder, I call it my daily working files. They're all in order. Every file that I have, every page that I have, well, not every page, but like scene 1, and then the marked pages, and then the facing pages for the next scene, and then the marked pages for the next scene, and then I highlight them all and dump them into one file, and that's my end-of-day report.
Yeah, if you want me to, Tim, I can kind of show, because it's similar to what I do as well, if you'd like me to show.
Yeah, go for it.
So let me share my screen really quick. Boop. Okay. So essentially what I do is in my folder, like Tim's has it, I use the count. So like the 0 is always my daily report. And then I just, at the end, if there's multiple days, I have day 1, day 2, day 3, and it usually puts it chronologically. And then I have my editorial logs listed as 1. So this is all the editorial logs for the various spots that I was doing. And then like Tim was saying, my facing pages are all named separately. Now you'll notice they all start with a 2 because they come second in my report. And then each facing page is associated with that script page. So couch time was script page 1. Do the tax pro go was script page 2, and then bonus was script page 3. So the 3, 2, and 1 on this relates to the page of the script. So what I would do then is open all of these in Adobe Acrobat Pro, and then bring up the script. And then what that does, once it opens, I would then use the merge or combine files. So all of these would be open at the top. I would then do open files, everything that's open, and merge them all together. And the end result is basically what you're about to see, where everything is all in alignment, where the facing pages are coming first. And then you'll see the script page in between each facing page. So that's kind of like how I merge it together at the end of the night. So yeah, Melanie, essentially doing it this way, the script page is not necessarily attached to that facing page initially when you're bringing it from Scriptation over to Adobe Acrobat Pro to merge like that. Is that kind of what you do as well, Tim? Oh, I think you're muted, Tim.
I was reading questions. I missed what you had asked me.
Oh, it's all good. So they're just asking if that means the facing pages aren't connected to the script pages, and the way that I just mentioned is by doing the Adobe Acrobat to combine it on my desktop computer or laptop computer. That's essentially what happens, because that's one of the limitations to Scriptation right now, is those pages are separate.
Right, right. And to answer Linda, no, I avoid paper if at all possible. I prefer not to use paper ever.
Right now with pandemic, I don't want to use any paper either, so I'd rather take my iPad, show it to them. I don't let them touch it, but I'll show them the line, and then I make sure to wipe it down if they do end up touching anything, because it's just no bueno right now. Previous to this, yeah, I would use paper and just have my sides, and that's where I was doing a lot of my blocking and things like that, but no, not recently. So, and since Tim, you've used Scarets, what's the biggest difference in using Scarets? Because obviously Scarets is a full package. You have the reports, you have the line script, you have the facing pages, it's a package. Scriptation's not quite there yet, but how do you marry it with using Scriptation? What are some of the limitations or the benefits of doing both?
Well, for me, the Scriptation is everything I need in and around my script. Like I said, I avoid paper, so I need to have a copy of it somewhere somehow, and that's what I use the Scriptation for. All my notes, when I'm doing my prep, like even though I'm prepping and I'm using my breakdown in Scaret, I'm going through the script in Scriptation, you know, like page by page, scene by scene. I mean, they do have an automatic import, which will give me all that stuff, but my process is, you know, I read the script as many times as I can, so I'll go through it over and over and over again with the breakdown as I read it. So I'm doing the breakdown in Scaret, I'm doing the reading in Scriptation, and making sure they match up. You know, like you said, it gets a little easier now. I used to go and highlight scene by scene each actor so that I wasn't missing anybody. Now it's easy to just, I mean, you don't have to highlight, you can just go into actor and see, you know, look at what scene you're in and see, you know, what actors you're going to be highlighting for that. So that's super great. at the end of the day, when I tie it to my Scarrett, at the end of the day, everything ends up outputting in a PDF in one way or another, either the marked script from Scriptation or the facing pages, the edit log, the breakdown, the daily report from my Scarrett. They all end up, like I said, in one file folder. Then I just put them into a single document. Or, you know, like I've got a couple of documents. Obviously, the people at the production office, they don't need all the marked script and the facing pages. So there's a shorter version that they just get the top sheet kind of stuff. But again, that's like the first 5 pages in order in my file folder. I just grab those and make a document.
Cool. Any other questions before we move on to Jonathan, who's going to talk a little bit about multicam?
Oh, there's Jonathan.
You ready for me?
Sure. I mean, we'll probably have still a couple of questions come in.
Yeah, that's good. Overlap is good.
Yeah.
Yeah, very much.
So Jonathan has been doing mainly multi-camera, but he wanted to bring up the way that he uses Scriptation because it might help you guys see how to do Scriptation on the table read days or when you have those rehearsal chances on how he marks up the script as well. So Jonathan, do you want to talk us through, and then I can bring in the spreadsheet?
Yeah, that would be good.
Awesome.
The first thing I think is to say that if you're paper and you are scared to go digital, Scriptation is a good transition. Okay, that's important because I know a lot of people are reluctant, and considering, I think it's very helpful. Also, I think at your station or podium or wherever you're working, make sure to ask for a power strip so you can connect and have the grips actually connect you to where Video Village is, so you can have that, because the iPad, if you're using it a lot, it tends to be, it pulls power out. And a small table, if possible, for your iPad, and etc. I think that's really important. And I've been getting a kit rental. I don't know if you get $50 a week. So that's just good to know about too. And make sure to get your Apple Pencil, your iPad if you're using one, and you can get a keyboard if you want to, which helps. And this is the keyboard, it's called the Magic Keyboard. It's a little bit weird to see that.
You can put it in front of you. We'll see it better.
Okay.
Put it right
anyway, so that's something I'd recommend. This Magic Keyboard is incredible. I mean, it really makes it into a laptop. Plus, you can turn it upside down and then work from the table too, and just have the keyboard above, which is fantastic. Okay. Let me see. So I've been digital since 2014. And before that, I used PDF Expert for everything. And people probably know about that because I was an early PDF program. But I started on Scriptation. A director I worked with was using it, and she recommended it. And the reason is because you can transfer your blocking, like they've been talking about, from draft to draft to draft. And it's like Rose said, it's probably 80% accurate, but it's better than having nothing. And I find it to be really, really helpful. So let me see. So on Script, let me see what else here. Okay. All right, and so Scriptation has become an industry standard in many ways, which I think is also the reason why you need to use it, in addition to the transition thing. Let me see. Okay, and also I've tutored a number of single camera script supervisors over the years to make the transition to multicam through the union. And I'm proud to say one of them is going to be teaching you tomorrow, Kirsten Robinson. So she's terrific, and so you're in good hands with her. Okay, so at the beginning of the week, what I do is, before I go there even Monday, which is the table read day, like it says, I import the script into Scriptation, and then, Ro, do you want to show that one more time just for yucks?
Give me just 1 second to flip back.
Yeah, that's it. Okay, so you take it from the email.
Yep.
And then you find the script and you click on it and then you move it to your files that you've created.
Mm-hmm. And then that'll get it going.
Okay.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
You'll get them.
Yep, no problem.
It's just good to reiterate this because it's the same.
Yeah.
And just so you know, you create a folder for the episode, and then within the episode, you can create, you create folders for the show, and then episodes within the show, and then documents within the episode.
Yeah. So here's basically, again, just to reiterate, so you'll go into your mail app, and then from there, you'll find the email that has the script. You'll click on that script, and then at the share key above, you can do a number of things, and that's where you'll get to this menu here. That third bar is where you'll want to scroll over until you find copy to Scriptation, and then that will take you to Scriptation to load it in. This is if it doesn't show up, so you'll tap on those three dots to find Scriptation, and then copy to Scriptation, and this is where you'll find the folders.
Okay, so that's the show folder, okay, and then click on that.
Yep, let me go ahead and go to your folder filing system here, 1 second. This is a really in-depth spreadsheet, so I apologize, guys.
Oh, I know. Okay, and then I
go.
created one for each episode. And then you just click on one of the episodes, and you see on the right. So I start from the table draft all the way through the shooting draft. And on sitcoms, the table draft is basically like the 6th or 7th draft of the script, you know, but they call it table because that's going to be verbally performed. So, and during the table read, which is Monday or Wednesday, depending on when the shooting schedule is, you take the table draft and you do a multitask thing on your iPad where you split it. On your left, here's the table read example. Left, you have the script itself, and on the right, you have your stopwatch. Okay. And you can also multitask, like it says on the right, script calc here, which when you're shooting helps too, but it does 8ths of pages, it does scenes, it does time, you can add time with it. It's really a fantastic app if you don't have it already. Okay?
And it's
you get that in the
important
App Store on the iPad. Okay?
Yeah, I think
And okay, so you time it, and then you put each of your timings in sitcoms. You have what they call a short rundown. That's exactly right. What's on the screen now, and they have a short rundown, which is a breakdown of each scene and who's in it, and what within the day of days, what day it is, and all that. And you put that in a grid and put each scene, and then each scene timing, you'll get there.
pull that up. Okay. Let's see here. So we're here and apologize, guys. Let me go ahead and pull up a full example here.
You have a lot of stuff in there.
Yeah. And my organization is good for me, but not for
you have a bunch of great material.
Yeah. So I just got to remember where everything is to a degree. Let's see here. So here we go. We'll bring up this one.
Yeah, that'll be good.
And let me know if you guys need me to make it bigger. Usually it's.
Yeah, that's good. Okay, then you just go to the next page, and that's the rundown.
Boop. So we have the
next one.
Boop.
That's it.
Okay. There we go.
Okay. So this is right before shooting, but it's the same principle. When you do the table read, you put the scene time and then the cumulative time, and then in the second page.
So that's about right there.
Yeah.
And then the second
And
page.
you don't have to worry about ACE pages until you shoot.
Mhm.
Okay, and then you have the script time or the hit time. And then you have, in the table read, you add 3 minutes for action on the stage because no one's moving, during this time. And then 2 minutes for laughs because an audience would laugh. So for example, now, because we're in COVID, no audience. So I have to add 3 minutes because it's going to be even longer when they add a laugh spread in post. So, and then you get the total time, and then I tell the producers, and I actually timed a table read yesterday on Zoom for the first time, which was fascinating. And so I ended up sending the time by text to the producers. And, you should find out, the writer's assistants, the EPs, the, the post folks, anyone who needs the timing, make sure to get everyone's text, just, make it as convenient as possible. Okay, and before the table read, we have a production meeting, and and you saw that example earlier. And in the production meeting, you do what Roe did, you put check marks next to anything that's changed.
I think, here we go.
And here, yeah, this is a first rehearsal, but that's the next day.
Oh, gotcha.
And sometimes this is also, okay, yeah.
Sorry. Go ahead, Jonathan.
Okay, so let's see. Okay, so, okay, to the times. Okay, sometimes after the table read, you do a rehearsal, but most times you don't. Most times you just go home, which is the great thing about multicam. Your hours are very, very easy. And so your shooting days are 12 hours, and there's usually 2 of them, so it's not, that taxing. So the first day of rehearsal, and Ro, bring that up what you just had, the one with the first day of rehearsal. Okay, and you use the check mark, which is under the stamps, the stamp icon to your right, and a little further down. You can circle that if you don't mind. Yep. And then you'll get a stamp in the middle of the page, which is kind of large, and you have to pare it down using the that little pencil. And it's not that hard to do. And then you place it right where your changes, and then you type in on the 4th item down on your right, and you click on that, and then you click on where you want to place the text. Okay, and then you write the text out, and you could do it in different colors because and then the lower on that task bar, it has different colors you can change it to. And my blocking I do under a little piece of paper on the task bar. Okay, under that, the icon under that is the writing icon, the pen. And that's what I use to write my blocking. Okay, and that's on the left. Okay, so, and different people, in sitcoms do different blocking. I tend to do it where if the character begins a place, I only write where they end. Okay, which is, you see that M and K. And then the 2 people sitting on the couch, a person on the couch arm. Okay, and a new person comes in, etc. Okay, let me see here. Okay, and not only, let's say an actor wasn't comfortable with a line and they pitch something. Usually I do, let's say, here is my black light, avoid anything that glows. And they want to say, here's my fluorescent light. And so with that, I type out their possibility, their pitch, and then I put a check mark next to it, and then I put the actor's name. If it's the producer who pitched it, I do the same thing with their name. Anything that will make them comfortable. I don't usually cross it out because I discovered over the years, writers are very sensitive. So they don't want you to cross anything out. It's underlined, okay? So I'm sure we've all been through that. Okay, let me see. Okay, then at the end of the day, after all this is done, we have a run through. And the run through is scene by scene in script order. And I go from, the director says action, and I start the clock. And and in this case, I don't have to pause the clock like in the table read, because it had, the table read normally you pause it for each stage direction. And I record, and I time the dialogue only, and then add the action spread and the laugh spread. In this case, there's movement on the stage, so I don't have to worry about that. So I time the scene itself, and then at the end, I put the timing, I put it on each page of the script, and then at the end of the scene, I put the cumulative time for the scene itself. And then I do one after the other, and then I add, this is all exactly right, then I add only the laugh spread. But I tell the producers that there's no action spread. So I say, here it is without the laugh spread. A lot of them want to know what the laugh spread is, but most of them will assume there's going to be laughs. So they just, you just tell them, without it. All right, and then after the rehearsal, I email it to the writer's assistant. So make sure to get, now that we're digital, make sure to get all the emails for everybody, find it, get it to the writer's assistant, and also to the script coordinator. All right, so that's the first day of rehearsal and the producer's run-through day. The second day is the network run-through day. And it's just like the producers, the steps are the same, use the same process, and then you do the run-through and add the laugh spread, etc., and then give the timings. But when you get home, what you'll do is prepare for shooting the next day. Okay, and by the way, there's notes after each run-through, and you take those and you hand them, or you send them to the director if they'd like it. Usually they take their own notes. But it's good that you can remind the director the next day what alterations they made during rehearsal, blocking changes, anything like that. Okay, so that's the network run-through day. And so in your shooting script, which is the next day, right there you go, you write down, you transfer your network run-through timings to the first column of that script, okay, the shooting script. You do your eighths, okay, you mark down which scenes are going to be pre-shot. Now, because there's no audience, you only pre-shoot when there's an audience. You do all the scenes that the actors are on, when an actor might be unavailable, an actor, for whatever reason, they can't be there. If it's complicated blocking-wise, if there's stunts, if there's special effects, whatever, those are all normally pre-shot. But in this case, we're going to just shoot them, one of the days that we shoot without an audience. So we end up, so I mark which scenes are pre-shot, and then there's a show time, which is the scene with the audience, and the laugh spread with the audience, you don't have to add anything because they're there and they have to do it. But in this case, our pre-shoot, since everything's pre-shot, I'm going to have to add a laugh spread at the end, which is unusual, but I'm going to have to do it. Okay, and so you see the network times, and you go scene by scene. Okay, that's good, Roe. You did the next one.
Yep, okay, here we go.
Okay, and so this is on Scriptation only. It's not with the new lining system, but I am excited for that to come because it looks really amazing. You have the scene, everything in sitcoms is lettered, not numbered. Okay, so you have, A, B, C, D, whatever numbers, and then you have take one, it's 4 cameras, A, B, C, and X. It's called X because it was an extra camera. And Jim Burrows, the director many years ago, decided that it would be called X. So there's no D. And then you go action to cut again, and you start. And anytime there's a pickup, Ro, if you could scroll down.
Let me get an actual script page here. Let me pull it up on my iPad.
Okay. And by the way, see it says PB next to it. PB is what you pre-shot, and they're going to, with the audience, it's going to be played back, PB.
Give me 1 second here.
Okay.
So in Scriptation.
And by the way, just so you know, I started in features and commercials and single camera dramas. So I have a background in this too.
Mhm.
It took me a while to adapt, but once you adapt, it's pretty wonderful. And also, I had a theater background. If any of you have theater backgrounds, sitcoms are fantastic. Just because you have rehearsal days, which is a luxury.
Yeah, give me 1 second here because I know one of these definitely has your notes here, and
This is the still the rehearsal one.
Yeah, because this is the shooting script, but it's not coming through with your notes, so that's why I'm like, what?
Yeah, I got you.
Here we go.
Okay, that's great. Okay, so perfect. So it's in sitcoms for pickups, you do a coverage letter, like in this case, cold open. The first scene is the cold open. So it would be COA, which would be the first starting at the top scene. In this case, though, cold open, take 1, and keep going. If you could.
Oh, yeah. So let me just pull out here.
It's all right.
So.
And okay, so then we went back and we started at the top. You see 10:38:10. So that's called an internal pickup. So the camera doesn't cut. So we call it an electrocardiograph, basically, or cardiogram, where you start at the beginning or start within a scene, and then you put the time code where it begins. So all your internal pickups are done without the camera cutting, because they want to keep the action going and the performances alive. Okay, so let's see. If you could just go to the next page, that would be great. All right, see, so all these internal pickups are for CO1, 2, 3, and 4. And then COA, which is the one on the far right, is a pickup, which, all 4 cameras were rolling. A lot of times you pick things up because the dialogue was flubbed, they add new dialogue, blocking changes, whatever reason. And in this case, you have the time code at the top. And then you do see, and then there were internal pickups there too. Then we had COB, another pickup, etc. And then on the top of the page, near line 17, it says insert picture. Sitcoms also rarely use inserts in second unit. They don't use second unit because you're already on stage and one of the cameras picks up a tighter shot. And that's considered, this insert could be done by, it's done by 4 cameras in this case, but it could be done by just 1. And they're assigned to do that. And then you see the dialogue changes too.
So I had practically spoon-fed dinner to our son.
Right. Okay. And in terms of also, a lot of times when you're shooting a sitcom, the producers are king. So if they have a question, if they have something they want to tell post, this is also like every other script supervisor situation, but you can check the place where they wanted the select and then put the person's name next to it. I mean, that's what I tend to do.
Is that what happened here with K Mark and then
No, this was additional dialogue.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, just I put K's character and Mike's character.
Oh, gotcha.
Those things. And I think a little further over, I might have places where okay. Off camera, this is how I do it. It'll be easier when you get the Scriptation version that has the lining, but it's pretty easy.
Mm-hmm.
And then you cross out using the, let's see. Ro, can you highlight the cross out?
Yeah, you said where the blue is here?
Yeah, no, it's in the taskbar on the right. I think it's under where it says, right. You go strike through. Exactly. So then you could strike out your lines. For wild tracks, I put them on the left and then WT and then the number. the time code, okay.
Mhm.
And let's see.
Yeah.
Okay, yeah, so that's pretty self-explanatory. Does anybody have any questions about that? Lining the script or rehearsal?
Let me see.
Okay,
Yeah, so far so good.
great. So you want to show the editor's log in the production report?
Sure. So we're gonna go to that. Give me 1 second to share that.
Right.
Because you don't do, like I said, the limitations of Scriptation is you can't really necessarily do an editor's log. So
Right.
here's an editor's log that Jonathan does.
Okay, and so I use Excel, and what's nice, if you could scroll up a little bit.
Let me pull up the actual file because this is just
Yeah.
the PowerPoint. My apologies. Boop, boop. Here we go. It's opening. Screen share.
So make sure to get the Excel app on your iPad.
I'm just making it big so everybody can see because it's a little tiny on the screen. So this is the editor's log. Here we go.
Yeah. Okay, and so as you see underneath at the bottom, there are page numbers. So they are each page, unless something goes over one page, is per camera roll. So page 1, page 2, etc. And at the top of it, okay, I just put the name of the show, the episode, in this case pre-shoot, which is the Thursday before we do an audience show, and you know, it's scene B, take 1, the time code start, the time of the scene, camera roll, sound roll, and all the coverage. All right, and when I write second pass, that means the first pass, which they call show coverage, which is like, let's say A and B are on singles, 3 is a master, 3 is a master 3 shot, and 4 or X is the through line 58, this doctor. The second pass would be a different set of coverage for all 4 cameras, 1 or, you know, or 1 or more basically. And on where it says BA, it's a pickup from line 61. So that's those kind of not internal pickups, but pickup from a different place in the scene. All right. And yeah, and then you do this throughout, and you know, when you're done with the camera roll, you end up giving it, you're emailing it to the post coordinator, or you could do Dropbox, or you can do, you know, just anything you want to do. But right now, because of COVID, they prefer email.
Yeah. And to do that in Excel, you can just go into the file and then do
Right, exactly.
save as, and then you can do that. I don't
For Excel,
really.
a lot of it's good to do. You create a template for the editor's log, and then you put a template for the production report, and then you use them each week for different episodes and just change the episode number.
Exactly.
So do you have the production report?
Yes, I do. Let me go ahead and make sure I pull that up.
Yeah, please.
Here we go.
Script Supervisor's daily report.
Yeah. Here we go. Oh, give me 1 second. Opening too many things in Excel, that's all.
Yeah, I know. It's all right.
My computer's old, guys. It's I love it, but it's doing a lot of different things. Okay, so let me do open this PC. Oh, so a question for you though, Jonathan, while I'm pulling this up. Do you have facing pages for the shoot?
No, I just use the editor's log. Some people want that, which would be just editor's log in not in show order or script order. It would be per scene as opposed to per camera roll. But I'm, you know, I've been mostly because of Avid, they just want an editor's log in shooting order. Okay, so this is the production report, and it's let me see if it's, what day is it? It's day 1, and it's the pre-shoot, and scenes, pages, minutes, setups, scene numbers taken today, and special notes are below, where you see wild line for scene cold open, and then what camera rolls we shot and what sound rolls we shot. And that's all. So both of these, you create templates, and then for each episode, you change the number and then everything else. And that's pretty much it.
Yay. So that's how you do multicam. Now, like, Jonathan, I'm going to ask you, as far as when it came to working in scriptation, what was the learning curve like for you?
It was a bit difficult, just because in PDF Expert, I had to do everything, and then I got used to it. But now that I know about the transferring, it's a breeze. I mean, I love it, so this is just, I'd recommend it so highly. I just can't even tell you. It's just, it basically saves me an hour, maybe 2 hours.
I would agree on my end too. Yeah, it's helpful.
No doubt. And I've been also what they, in sitcoms, there's a job which isn't in single camera called associate directing. Ro and I have both been doing that from time to time, which is working with the camera operators and creating the coverage for the scenes. And so, which is kind of like half the job in a single camera, where you're suggesting eyeline, screen direction, shots, coverage to the director, things like that. So, that's why I was able to make that transition, because I did do single camera first. But I do both jobs now. And Scriptation is fantastic for that too.
Yeah, I have to agree. So any other questions before we let you guys go? I don't know, because I know for me, like, I prefer Scriptation. You guys, if you are with us tomorrow for Movie Slate 8, you might want to lean towards Movie Slate 8 for some instances, because Movie Slate's a one package fit. So it does have the capacity to do the reports and everything, versus Scriptation in the current iteration that it's in right now. As you saw, it's really effective for lining the script, writing down your notes, inserting photos. It has a lot of capacity in it by itself, but it's not a one-size-fits-all package. It's just a piece to have in your toolbox. So that's just something to keep in mind. Tomorrow you guys might see Movie Slate 8 and be like, interesting. But a lot of the same tools that we went over today apply to Movie Slate 8 that you'll see tomorrow as well. So cool. I'm not seeing any questions coming through. Any final thoughts, Tim or Jonathan?
Just thanks, everybody. Thanks for having us.
Yeah, really much.
Hope it was helpful.
And also, I was going to suggest, let's say, I know you guys mostly live in the East Coast, but there's a thing called the Sitcom Career Book, which is really wonderful. And if you're at all interested, pick that up at Amazon, or there's a digital version, I believe. But if you have interest in maybe working in the West Coast at some point, because I started out in New York, by the way.
Oh, very cool. Well, yeah, it looks like we are golden, guys. So again, this will be recorded, and I will send the recording to 161 to have in their archives, so you guys can watch it after today. If you want to do a refresher, anything like that, please feel free. And we'll go from there. If you're joining us tomorrow, we'll see you then. Kirsten and Diane will be with us tomorrow. So we will say goodnight to Tim and Jonathan. Thank you so much.
Thank you very much.
Thanks, guys.
Awesome. And that is a wrap for today. Have a good night, guys.
And that's it. Thank you so much for joining this digital script supervising, how to use Scriptation for script supervisors. My name is Roe Moore. Again, if you have any questions or concerns, or would love to go through something a little bit more, please feel free to reach out to me. I can be easily reached at Roe Moore, so that's ROEMOORE @gmail.com. I'd be more than happy to help you, and I will get back to you as soon as I can. Thank you again, and I look forward to seeing you on set soon.